1690 AM WVON. You're listening to Real Talk, Real People. I'm your host, Chad Daddy. All right, so as you guys all know, the rideshare business has become really, really big. Whether you're a driver or a passenger, and I don't know, here recently I've been a passenger, and some drivers I've been like, okay, good driving. And other drivers I was like, what the HELL are you on? And so it has crossed my mind several times, what would I do if I'm in an accident in a rideshare? And lo and behold, one of my friends said, well, guess what, Chad? I can connect you with somebody that can help you to answer all those questions. So our guest tonight is here to talk to us about the do's and don'ts as a driver and passenger in rideshare companies, businesses, cars, whatever the case may be. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show Mr. Bryant Greening, co-founder of LegalRideshare. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Chat Daddy, it's great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolutely. So now, I don't even know where to start. Let's talk a little bit about, because really your law firm would not have been around 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So you guys have actually cut out a niche that needs to be satisfied. Tell us about the firm and why it was created.
You know, it was really exciting. A few years ago, we saw rideshare was taking off in Chicago, and we were getting lots of questions from people. I was an accident and injury lawyer, and a lot of people were coming in saying, I'm not sure what to do when I get in this rideshare, or when I sign up to be a rideshare driver, I'm not sure how to make sure that I'm protecting myself and what happens if something goes wrong. So we started answering those questions, and one thing led to another. We realized that this niche was viable and that people needed information and support. And from there, we opened a brick and mortar, and here we are today.
Wow, that's so interesting because, again, 10 years ago, we knew nothing about a rideshare. We knew cabs, limos, public transportation. But now you're right. Rideshare is the way that a lot of people are making their living, and then a lot of people are getting around in rideshares. So now, can we start off with drivers? What are some of the things that drivers would need to know if something was to happen?
Well, the first thing that you need to know as a driver is how to protect yourself from day one. A lot of people get involved in the rideshare industry because they think it's an opportunity to be their own boss, to make money on their own time. And that's true. That there's a lot of opportunity there, but they don't take the steps that they need to ensure that if something goes wrong, they're going to be taken care of physically, financially, medically. It all starts with insurance.
It does.
So that's really what I'm getting at here is when you decide that you're going to be a rideshare driver, you need to make sure that you have taken out the proper insurance to protect yourself, so that in the event that something happens, and unfortunately, when something does go wrong, because the more time you spend on the road, the more likely it is that something is going to happen. You've got the protection that you need.
Okay.
One thing that I really want to dive into tonight, when the time is right, are the loopholes, the pitfalls of Uber and Lyft insurance that the company provides, and what drivers can do to protect themselves in those situations.
Well, look, you done came to that time now. Keep talking. Right. Look, you don't need the time is right. Keep talking. You the expert. We listening. So tell us about that.
So when you sign up to be a rideshare driver, both companies tell you you're insured through us. You're going to have the opportunity to drive, and when you're behind the wheel, we're going to provide coverage to you. And the truth is, most of the time they do. When you've got a passenger in the car, or when you're on the way to pick somebody up, Uber and Lyft insurance provides pretty good coverage.
Okay, all right.
But when you're just cruising around waiting to connect with a passenger, or when the app is not on, you need to make sure that your personal insurance is up to snuff.
Okay, so now I bought my insurance out the back of somebody's trunk or their car, and so I think it's my cousin that writes the policy. So I guess that wouldn't be a good policy, huh?
That might be a cheap policy. It might make the monthly bills easier to pay.
Right.
But it's not going to be sufficient for what you need driving for rideshare.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. When we've got a minimal policy, you've got the $25,000 policy that you bought in, a shack down the road.
My cousin out the trunk of his car. Yeah, that type of situation. Right. He cut hair and sell insurance.
Well, and you know what? I'm sure that he's given you the best policy that he can offer.
No, don't make up for him. Don't make up for him. You're just being nice. Go ahead. Continue, attorney.
But those minimal policies, a lot of times they don't provide collision coverage, which means if somebody hits you, or if, God forbid, you hit somebody else, your car might not get fixed. And when you're an Uber or Lyft driver, your car is your income. It's your livelihood. If you are taken off the road because of an accident, you might have medical bills to pay. You might have lost wages that you need to figure out. And if you don't have that appropriate policy, you're not going to be able to make ends meet.
So now, even though they insuring the passengers in the car, for you guys that are drivers out there, you need to have maximum insurance, good coverage.
People have a misconception as to what full coverage means.
Okay.
So when you go and you go to your cousin's trunk, he says, I'm going to provide you full coverage. And what that means is state minimum. You can buy full coverage that's fully loaded, but you can also buy full coverage that just covers what the state requires. And you need to be looking deeper into the policy if you're on the road as a rideshare driver to make sure you've got more than just the minimums.
Got you. Okay. All right. Very good. At the top of the hour, we're going to open up the phone lines. Wait till the top of the hour. You guys will answer some questions as well, too. You know the number is 773-591-1690. Okay, so this insurance thing is really important. Even though they insure that passenger in there, you want to make sure you are fully insured as well too.
Correct. There's, insurance is something that I talk about every single day, because when we're dealing with accidents and injuries, that's where we go to make sure that people are protected. But as a rideshare driver, there's other things that you need to do to protect yourself as well. You're letting strangers into your car.
I wondered about that all the time, really. I think about that. I get in, I speak to the driver, they verify who I am, that type of thing. But then I've been in ride shares where I've shared it with other people. I'm like, look, you look like you about to kill both of us in here. So, really, there are a lot of things that drivers need to be aware about, right?
Well, the companies do a pretty good job of screening drivers. They get background checks for 8 years, and certainly people fall through the cracks. And we've had cases where people have fallen through the cracks and been dangerous drivers transporting passengers around. But what they don't do is any sort of screening of the passenger. So you don't know what the individual getting in the back of your car has done in the past, whether they've been drinking heavily that night, whether they have a propensity for violence. And different arguments can be made that the rideshare companies could be doing more to screen passengers. That's kind of a topic for a different day.
Right. Because I am the type of person that if you come visit, I will put you in a rideshare. If you are an elderly relative or a friend that needs to get home, I'll put you in one. And really, that's not me in the car. But okay, so that makes sense.
But what we can do, rather than deciding the policy that these companies should be taking, or the what the lawmakers should do with regard to passenger screening, is we can make sure that the drivers take steps to protect themselves when that stranger gets in the car.
Okay.
And what we recommend at Legal Rideshare is having a dash cam in the vehicle. For about $100, you can buy a camera that installs.
A lot of them on sale right now, y'all, for the holiday season.
It is. That's the right time to do it.
That's
because
right.
You go on Amazon, you
That's
get all
right.
these Black Friday sales, things of that nature.
Some of the daytime TV shows have been offering them. Just saying. Okay.
What we want to see is drivers protecting themselves by recording what's going on in that car. Because the moment that somebody sees a red light flashing, recording on that dash cam, they're going to act better than they would have otherwise, because they know that there's some accountability. So people always ask us, am I allowed to record, if I'm in the car?
And that was the question I was going to give you. It'd be just my luck. I pick up a passenger that wants to cuss me out because I'm recording. So how does that work?
So Illinois is the type of state where you don't need somebody's consent to record them if there's no expectation of privacy. And we would argue, one, when you get in the back of a rideshare car, you don't have much of an expectation that what you say is going to be private. You're with a stranger, you're in a public place.
Right.
If you get on a bus and you shout something, offensive out there, you don't have an expectation of privacy. There's not much of a difference here. So we would say you're probably okay regardless, because there's not that expectation. But what you can do to ensure that you're okay is put a sign up in your car. Put a sticker on the window that says, "Smile, you're on camera."
Okay.
For your protection and mine.
Right. Okay.
And that way, the person who's there knows that there's the dash cam. If they have a problem with it, they can cancel the ride. And it just puts everybody on notice. One, there's a camera. Two, you better act right, because if you don't, I've got a recording of who you are. I can go to the authorities. It's not going to be my word versus yours because the camera doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm. And we have become a society now where these cameras are so important. You know, our police are wearing the body cams and people putting cameras around their homes and things like that. So I would only imagine being a driver and a passenger, you kind of would want that.
Yeah, and you need to make sure that if you're a driver and you've got a dash cam up, that you're not taking advantage of the situation. Mm-hmm. There was a driver in Missouri who got caught actually live streaming passengers in the car and publishing it online.
Oh, try to make it a reality show.
That's a big problem because there is an expectation that when you get in a car, you're not going to be part of a reality show.
Right.
You're not going to be part of somebody's campaign to make a few bucks on the side by getting more YouTube followers.
Right.
So if you do put up that dash cam, you've got to be respectful, and it's for safety purposes only. Mm-hmm. But you know, it should be there, and it should be used, with the right intentions.
Okay, very good. Well, you're doing an outstanding job. We have attorney Bryant Greening, and he's a co-founder with LegalRideshare. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with him. If you have any questions at the top of the hour, we'll take some calls from our listening audience, but he's doing an outstanding job helping us to understand. A lot of you, this is how you're making your living, making your ends meet, but we want you to be safe and know how to protect yourself, and then we'll talk about passengers' rights as well, too. You're listening to Real Talk, Real People. We'll be back in just a moment. I'm your host, Chat Daddy. It's the Wednesday night edition of your favorite entertainment magazine show here at VON. Happy hour. Yes, it is. You should have your favorite beverage. We don't care what it is. Happy holidays to you and your family. Glad you guys are tuned in. Our guest right now is Bryant Greening. He's the co-founder of LegalRideshare, and he's here to talk to us tonight about what happens if you're a driver in an accident, how to protect yourself. And before we went to break, he gave a lot of great information for drivers. We're going to shift the gears just a little bit and talk about things that passengers need to do. Can you help us with that?
Definitely. So passengers have a little bit different perspective of rideshare. You know, you're getting into the car and the goal is to get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. You don't think much about it. You request the ride on your app and you expect that the driver's going to be there in 3 minutes and get you on your way.
Right.
When we talk about passenger rights and passenger protection, there's a couple different points of contact that we need to talk about. The first would be actually making sure you get into the right car.
Okay, yes. We hear so many stories of people getting in the wrong car. Are you kidding me? Know who car you getting in.
You know, one thing that the apps do really well is give you the information that you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And that's the license plate number of the car, that's the driver's name, that's the make and model of the vehicle, a picture of the driver. Mm-hmm. You should be using all of those pieces to make sure that you're not getting into, one, the wrong vehicle, and two, perhaps a predator's vehicle.
Okay, all right.
We have actually seen over the past couple months, there's a couple of women out there who are posing as rideshare drivers.
Yep.
People are getting into the back of their car because they're not paying attention. They realize, you know, I've got my
Well,
phone.
I ain't going to lie to you. Everybody's saying that's a drunk white folk thing because black folks ain't finna do that. You know what I'm saying? I just had to tell you that, but that's what they were saying. That's a drunk white folk thing because black folks say we ain't pulling that one. But, I mean, I'm just telling you.
You know, I got no comment on it.
Okay, I know. I just thought I'd let you know what the word on the street is. Okay, I'm just telling you. Okay.
Are getting in the wrong cars. I can't speak to who they are.
Very good, attorney. That was a good answer. Yay.
So we've got situations where people are looking down at their phone and they're just walking into a car, and all of a sudden somebody's trying to rob them,
right?
Or driving them off to a secluded place, and we've had cases like that,
right,
where people have been picked up by someone and taken, out of the area where they call home, and all of a sudden they're a captive,
right?
So what's the easiest way to do that? Before you enter that vehicle, ask, who are you here to pick up? Make them say your name. Okay. You know, I'm here, I'm your rideshare driver, and I am here to pick up Sam. Okay. And when that happens, then you know, okay, I've connected with the right person. You take a look at that person's face, look at your phone, and compare that. Compare the license plate number, and then at least you know you're in the right car and you're going to the right place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes good sense. It really does. Check who your driver would be. Make sure it's the right car. Make sure you both acknowledge names, which makes sense. Most people, when they pick me up, they do, hey, Art, or they'll see my picture. They know the picture. Okay, so that does make good sense. It really, really does.
And another thing that these apps do is they give you the ability to share your location with another person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a situation that you find uncomfortable, you're already in the car, you can actually let your friend know exactly where they are, and they can track you.
Okay, all right.
So that's not going to solve every problem, but at least if you feel uncomfortable or need help, you've got somebody with eyes on you.
Now, attorney, I know this is a little off subject, but what if I get in the car and the car is reeking of marijuana? Can I sue anybody for a contact high?
I don't know that there's a lawsuit that you can file, but you can certainly decide to not get in that car.
Oh, you can?
And
okay.
If you decide to not get into a rideshare car because it smells like there's weed or it smells like somebody's been drinking, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that. And if Uber or Lyft refuse to refund your fare or your cancellation fee there, you call me and I'll make a phone call.
That's what I'm talking about. See there? Well, they actually were smoking some good now. But I mean, I'm just saying. All right. So what else we need to know as a passenger?
So the other thing with a passenger is really what to do after an accident, because there's two phases of being a passenger. One, protecting your person from physical harm, assault, getting into the wrong car type deal. And two, something goes wrong during the trip. If you're involved in an accident in the back of a rideshare car, you have rights, and you need to know how to collect for the medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering. That gets extremely complicated because there's all these different insurance policies in play. As the passenger, you often don't have any idea where to start.
Okay.
Am I picking up the phone and calling Uber or Lyft? Do I have to find out who the driver's personal insurance is? What about the guy who we ran into? How does that insurance come into play? And that's why you call a lawyer to help sift through all that.
Okay.
When it comes to protecting yourself, you've always got to make sure you got the best information available.
Very good. All right. When we come back at the top of the hour, if any of you all have any calls for Mr. Greening, please call us at 773-591-1690. You may be a driver out there right now, or you have driven before and you may have a question. You might be a passenger that would have a question about some things that have gone on and you're not quite sure, was that right or wrong? He's here with us, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation of, what are your rights as a passenger in these car sharing services? Because everybody's into it now, really. I have a couple of things I want to ask you about, okay?
I'm ready.
All right, when we come back, put that song on. I like that chance to rap. That's the car driver song. Drinking all night. I've been drinking all night. Yay. We'll be back at the top of the hour. Don't you go anywhere. Right now, we are in studio with our good friend, Mr. Bryant Greening, and he is here to talk to us about the rideshare business. And so before we went to break, you and I were talking about a lot of things, plus we got a couple of comments from people. What were some of the other things that we want to cover about the whole rideshare? And then before I let you go, I really want to find out when, is it important that we get an attorney for situations?
Yeah, well, I think what we want to dive into is rideshare accidents.
Okay, yes.
That's really when you need an attorney, and that's when things can get really confusing, and when health and viability are at play. If you're in a rideshare accident, the advice that I'm about to give you is pretty much the same if you're a driver or a passenger.
Okay.
There are some certain steps that you want to take to make sure that you're protecting your rights, both at the moment of the accident and into the future.
Now, listen, a lot of times you're in that little fender bender and like, okay, let's just exchange insurance. Hey, I'll pay for that and have it buffed out, or I didn't mean to hit you, that type of thing. Is that really the right way to go, or can that come back to bite you?
That can really come back to bite you. If you're in even the smallest of accidents, I would always make a police report. You don't always have to get the insurance companies involved. If you really want to handle it between yourselves, you could certainly talk about that. But you want to make sure that the accident is documented.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because if you leave the scene and you find out that the damage is worse to your car than you thought, it might look like a scratch, but it turns out that there's some structural damage, you're going to need to be able to get back in touch with that person, find out which insurance company to submit a claim to, and have the documentation from the police that shows this was not your fault.
Okay.
If somebody bumps into the back of you and says, can I just give you $500 and we'll go our separate ways, that's pretty tantalizing at the time because it's cash and you're looking at your car and you're saying this damage probably isn't worth $500.
Right, right.
I'm not going to get it fixed anyway, so it's cash money in my pocket. You gotta hold back and you gotta get the proper authorities involved to make sure that you're protecting yourself.
Okay, very good. What else do we need to know?
So the property damage claims, what we usually tell people is you don't need to call me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but there's not really a reason to pay a lawyer. You can handle that case if you make the police report, if you exchange insurance information. You can open that claim and you can walk away with all the money. I don't need to take it.
Okay. Oh, that's nice of you.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
But as soon as there's an injury involved, that's when things change. And that's where people find themselves being taken advantage of by the insurance companies.
Okay.
And they're saying, okay, well, you went to the ER and you had an x-ray and your bills are $1,200. We'll give you $1,300 and you can pay your bill and be on your way. Well, if you get a lawyer involved, we're going to be able to claim all sorts of different damages that you didn't probably know you were entitled to.
You're going to get a check for that issue you've had a long time. No, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I digress.
So, you hear terms on legal shows like pain and suffering and loss of normal life, disability.
Right.
Somebody who doesn't see these cases all the time doesn't know how to make the arguments to the insurance company to make sure that you're compensated for those things. So, if you've got your medical bills, certainly the insurance company should be paying for that. But when you come to me, I'm going to be able to explain, she was off the road for 3 weeks as a result of this. And
okay.
Not only does that affect her ability to earn because she's a rideshare driver and she was making $900 a week doing that she couldn't do while her car was in the shop and while her back was hurting. But also she lost the ability to take her son to football practice. And that affected her relationship and her ability to be a mom. You're able to recover for that.
Look, I'm finna hire you just to walk around with me every day. My goodness. Wow. That would be considered pain and suffering.
That's pain and suffering. And
wow. I didn't look at it like that.
Well, the insurance companies are going to say, you don't need a lawyer. Here, take this check and let's close out the case. And what that is also doing is it's forever ending the claim, regardless of if you have some future issues that come up with your medical.
Okay.
So, a lot of people go to the hospital right after an accident and they say, I'm feeling a little stiff. And if you were to settle the case right after that visit, you would not be able to go back to the insurance company a week later when all of a sudden, you're starting to feel pain and tingling in your arms and legs. And there's some nerve issue that you didn't know about.
Right.
You've closed out the case for the cost of the ER bill.
Okay.
So that's why I think it's really important that you reach out to a lawyer at the beginning. Go get the treatment you need. Go get make the ambulance report and the police report. But then talk to somebody who knows what they're doing and who sees this all the time, so that we can give you some good advice as to, one, whether you need a lawyer, and two, how to protect yourself in the immediate future to make sure that you're not closing out the case sooner than you want to.
Very good. I like that. That's good advice. Now, let me ask you this. What's getting ready to happen with all these electronic scooters? We have enough stuff going on now. No disrespect. We have bike lanes. We have people that make their own damn lanes. We just have so much going on in our streets that we're not getting ready to add electric scooters to the mix.
It's wild. Let me tell you, they have been popping up around town a little bit. You see them at festivals. I was at the one of the music festivals over the summer.
Right.
And you see them cruising around and kind of introducing themselves to the city, but they are not here on the streets.
Okay.
And it's only a matter of time because they're popping up all around us. They're in Minneapolis. They're in Indianapolis.
Okay.
I was in San Diego a week
Testing
ago.
them in the other cities. Okay, before they bring it to the jungle.
Well, these scooter companies are just dropping them off.
Okay.
They're literally unloading them on the street, and people are picking them up and cruising around. And it's been wild. It's been mayhem in a lot of cities. We've seen pedestrians get hurt. We've seen cars running into scooters. And talk about a need for personal injury attorneys.
Okay.
People are flying over the handlebars, getting hit by cars or running into others. I mean, there's all sorts of legal issues at play. And, I would hope that our city government takes a look at exactly what they want to do in terms of bringing them in.
Because really, not to cut you off, attorney, but when you think about it would have to be an age limit, I'm sure. But you wouldn't probably even have to have a driver's license to ride around on one of these scooters, would you?
You click the terms of service, say I agree that I'm going to be safe and that I'm going to be responsible for any harm that I cause, and then you ride.
Wow.
So, there's all these stories that are popping up about scooter injuries nationwide. I just read one on cnet.com, and we actually talked with the journalist there about what we're seeing in people suffering these catastrophic injuries, broken legs, and left without recourse. There's not really insurance that attaches to these.
Right.
The legal system has not played out yet, so we don't know what the courts are going to say in terms of who's liable. So, we're seeing the potential for some real mayhem and catastrophe if we don't set the rules right now. Let's be proactive about it. I want to see them. I'm excited. When I was in San Diego, I got on one, and I had a great time cruising around the block.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to make sure that our policies are right before they hit the streets.
Very good. All right, when we come back from break, we have Samantha on the live line. We're going to take her call, and then the attorney is going to tell you drivers out there about a really great treat he has for you guys if you're in the Wrigleyville area. That's really cool. All right, you're listening to Real Talk, Real People. We're talking about the do's and don'ts of the rideshare business. Whether you're a driver or a passenger, protect yourself. Wrap it up. Isn't that what we say?
That's right.
That's what we say. Wrap it up. All right, we'll be back. And look, don't y'all be getting drunk, getting in the wrong car. That's an anybody thing, but I'm just telling you, that's what the people told me. We'll be back in just a little bit. Chat Daddy, it's the Wednesday night edition of your favorite entertainment magazine show here at VON, where we talk about just a little bit of this and a whole lot of that. It's happy hour, and it's the holiday season. Happy holidays to each and every one of you. So glad you're tuned in tonight. Keep in mind, we're just 20 days away from Christmas. 20 days, all right? So right now, our guest for the last hour has been an amazing gentleman, Bryant Greening, attorney, co-founder of LegalRideshare, a law firm that entirely is dedicated to Uber, Lyft, accidents, and injuries.
That's right.
You carved out a niche, didn't you? My goodness.
As the technology changed, people started having questions, and we needed to provide answers.
Isn't that something?
So we did it.
Right. You created something off of something that became a phenomenon.
2015, we saw all these Uber and Lyft cars starting to pop up, and that's back when Lyft actually had a pink mustache.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yes,
yes, I remember.
So talk about retro.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. I remember when car service, they were a little funny about where they pick you up from and all that. Oh, I used to have a hard time, and then now all of a sudden it's the phenomenon.
Well, isn't that amazing how quickly the world changes with technology?
Right.
Now it's at literally our fingertips. We can get a ride in a couple of seconds, and we can go anywhere we want to go.
Well, the one thing that you do want to do is help my audience out here in Chicago who are drivers, and kind of because, we were talking earlier, I have several friends that are driving. I said, well, now, where do you go to the bathroom? And, how do you know where to go eat or relax or get you a cup of coffee? I told you I had a driver one day who told me that they have to turn his app off because he drives, to the max. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. So you do have some place where drivers can kind of refresh themselves. Tell us all about that.
In Wrigleyville, we opened up a driver's lounge. So it's at Clark and Grace, and you'll see a big green sign that says Legal Rideshare. And it's a place where drivers can park, they can go to the bathroom, they can charge their phone, they can literally refresh. We got free coffee. And we want drivers to use that as an opportunity to take a break, because the longer that you're on the road, the harder it is to concentrate. The more tired you get. Stop by our place, and on us, take the opportunity to be safe.
Very good. I think that's so wonderful. How can we follow you on all your social media platforms and website and all that great stuff?
So our website is LegalRideshare.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our social media man is Jerry Hoffa.
He's here.
He's here right now.
He's here. That's my buddy.
And he does an excellent job on all that. And if I do say so myself, I think we're a pretty good follow.
You are. You really, really are. And I mean, just really, it's a service to our drivers. And I know my audience, we have a lot of drivers who listen. They call in all the time. They're driving around trying to make that money. And Lord knows we all need to make money this holiday season, but we really do want to keep everyone protected. We really do.
Yeah, and really what we're trying to do through our website, through our social media, through opportunities like sitting down with you, is to make sure that people have the information that they need. So we are constantly, writing blog articles and, posting checklists on what to do if you're involved in an accident so you can keep it in your glove compartment. Because a lot of times you get in an accident, sometimes a major accident, and your head's spinning, and you lose sight of everything that people told you on how to handle that situation. So print out our checklist and go step by step. And it's, check yourself to make sure that you're okay. Check your passengers to make sure they're okay. Call the police, regardless of how serious or not serious you think the event is.
Okay.
Call the ambulance if you think you need one. Get to the medical provider to make sure that any complaints you have are documented, because the complaints that you make in an injury case, that's your evidence. And then get on the phone and call a lawyer.
Okay.
So if you didn't just write all that down, you can go to our website and print out a nice document that will allow you to see that in written format and have it at your fingertips the moment that you need it most.
Give us that website, because I was driving and I could, I want to take my hands off of 10 and 2. So give me that website again.
It's LegalRideshare.com and at LegalRideshare, Facebook and Twitter.
Very good. And I highly recommend you guys get those dashboard cameras. Really, right now you can get them on sale. It's the holiday season. Wait till the end of the season. They'll be on clearance, whatever the case may be. But definitely, and even some of the discount stores sell cameras like that now. So definitely put that on your dashboard. At least let people know, but you're trying to protect yourself, especially, if you don't know who you're picking up.
Yeah, and you don't need to buy the best one. There are cameras that cost, $500, and there are cameras that cost $50.
Right.
Certainly, you want something that records the inside of your car, because like we talked about earlier, you've got strangers in your car, and you need to protect yourself in case they do something to you or in case they accuse you of doing something to them. The camera never lies, and that's going to be the best thing to keep you safe when you're out on the road.
I had a driver one night tell me, he said, "Man, you don't know how many women I have sex with." I said, "Oh my God, team, too damn much." As I always say on this show, you got to be kidding me. That's a hot mess too, isn't it?
No comment.
Okay, yay! Good attorney, you're amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for our good friend, attorney Bryant Greening, co-founder of
LegalRideshare.
Very good. Great job. He did an outstanding job helping us to better understand. We want you guys to be safe out there. We want you to make your holiday money. Tell us where we can go to the bathroom and charge our phone at again.
Grace and Clark in Wrigleyville, the LegalRideshare Lounge.
And you better have good coffee.
It's the best.
Okay, you better have good coffee.
Jared makes sure that it's always hot.
Oh, okay, good. You better have great coffee. All right, so go check them out. If you're a rideshare driver, protect yourselves, know what to do. If you're a passenger, know your rights as well, too. You're listening to Real Talk, Real People. We'll be back in just a moment.